Will Smith, the rapper turned actor who became a cultural icon, a modern-day Mamba, if you will. He captivated the world with his charm, charisma, and a quick wit. He made us laugh. He made us think. And most importantly, he made us feel good about ourselves. We saw ourselves in him. He was one of us, until he wasn't. You see, Hollywood is a ruthless business. It feeds you lies, sells you dreams, and when it's done with you, spits you out like the used tissue paper it always does. And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, rich or poor, male or female, straight or gay, talented or not. The machine works the same way every time. It preys on your insecurities, your vulnerabilities, your deepest desires. It whispers sweet nothings in your ear, promises you the world, and then takes it all away just to prove that it was never really yours to begin with. And Will Smith was no exception. Behind the closed doors of the Chateau Marmont, where the elite party and the deals are made, there's a darker side to this glitzy town, and Will Smith found himself in the crosshairs. His music career was already a thing of the past. His marriage was falling apart, and his film career was at a crossroads. But he needed a hit. He needed a comeback. He needed something to prove to himself and everyone else that he was still relevant, that he still had what it takes to make it in Hollywood. Enter Sony Pictures, the studio that had faith in him when no one else did. They offered him a chance to star in a film adaptation of a popular video game. A risky move, but one that could potentially revive his career. The film was called Wild Wild West, an over-the-top action comedy set in an alternate version of the American frontier, where cowboys and Native Americans battled it out with steam-powered robots and deadly laser guns. It was a wild ride, pun intended. But it was also a disaster. The movie was a critical and commercial failure, derided by critics and abandoned by audiences. Will Smith was once again out of work and out of favor in Hollywood. The studio tried to distance themselves from him, the public turned their back on him, and Will Smith was left with nothing but his pride and his dignity, or so he thought. Because in Hollywood, there's always a price to pay for the sins of the father. And Will Smith's sins were about to come back to haunt him. Because in this town, they don't forget. They just wait. Wait for the right moment to strike back. Wait for the opportunity to capitalize on your misery. Wait for the chance to make a buck off your brokenness. Now, who could have guessed that the man behind this elaborate scheme was none other than Will Smith's own son, Jaden Smith, the apple of his father's eye, the spitting image of his famous dad. The next big thing in Hollywood? Or so everyone thought. But behind the scenes, Jaden was harboring a secret resentment towards his father, a bitterness that festered inside him like a gangrenous sore. He felt that his father had abandoned him and his mother, Jada, for the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, for the adulation of millions of fans, for the cold, hard cash. And now he was determined to make his father pay. But how could he do that? How could he get back at the man who had everything? How could he strike back at the man who was his idol, his hero, his role model? Then he had a brainwave. He would use his father's own fame against him, his own stardom as a weapon to destroy him. And so he hatched a plan, a diabolical scheme that would bring his father to his knees. That would shatter his career, that would ruin his life. And it all started with a tweet. From the vibrant streets of West Philadelphia to becoming the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith's journey began with a bang. His sitcom, a cultural touchstone, tackled tough subjects with humor and heart, instantly making him a household name. Music followed. Then came the movies. Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black. Every film grossed over $100 million. It seemed like Will Smith was invincible. He interviewed everyone from presidents to popes, effortlessly charming his way through every talk show. At the peak of his career, he had it all. Fame, fortune, and the adoration of millions. But behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. In his autobiography, Will revealed the immense pressure he felt to maintain his squeaky clean public image. This struggle to reconcile his public persona with his private self became a recurring theme in his life. His next big commitment was the movie Wild West. A leading man in a high-budget production, he immersed himself in the role. But upon its release, it was met with a resounding critical and commercial failure. For the first time, Will found himself at the center of negative reviews. The world that had cheered his every move was now scrutinizing his missteps. In an industry where success is often fleeting, this was a setback he couldn't afford. As if this wasn't enough, his marriage started to crumble under the weight of expectations. Amidst rumors and speculations, he admitted to infidelity, revealing that he had an extramarital affair while filming the movie. He tried to salvage his marriage, but ultimately it ended in divorce. Once again, his personal life became tabloid fodder, dissected and criticized by the media. Amidst all this turmoil, his career took another hit. In 2016, he starred in the movie Collateral Beauty. Despite a stellar performance, the film was a box office dud, earning only a fraction of its production cost. People questioned whether his star power had faded. Some said he was past his prime. Others claimed his reputation as a bankable star was nothing but a thing of the past. But Will Smith wasn't one to stay down for long. He bounced back with the film Bright on Netflix, which, despite mixed reviews, became the platform's most viewed movie within weeks of its release. It seemed like his career was back on track. However, the road to redemption was not without its bumps. Then came the slap at the 94th Academy Awards. As Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, Will walked onto the stage and slapped him. In that instant, the world watched as the nice guy image he had carefully crafted over the years was shattered. Overnight, he went from being the Fresh Prince to the bad guy. Social media erupted. Everyone had an opinion. Some defended him. Others condemned him. But amidst the cacophony of voices, one thing was clear. Will Smith was done being the Hollywood nice guy. The question is, was this outburst a mere lapse in judgment or a culmination of years of repressed emotions? After all, he had been ridiculed, mocked, and scrutinized for decades. Finally, someone had made him pay for it. Looking back, the slap seems almost inevitable. It was the climax of a story that began long before the bright lights of Hollywood. Born in West Philadelphia, Will grew up in a tough environment. His father abandoned the family when he was just 9 years old, leaving his mother, a school board administrator, to raise him and his siblings alone. Despite the financial struggles, young Will always had his mother's love and support. She never lost faith in him. Not when he dropped out of high school or when he made music instead of pursuing a real job. However, his rise to fame was not without its challenges. When he moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in entertainment, he found himself at the mercy of a system that values youth and beauty over talent and hard work. The infamous casting couch became his battleground. At just 19 years old, he had to stand firm against unwanted advances to protect his integrity. Years later, he recalled feeling trapped and powerless. The irony was not lost on him. The same industry that celebrated his talent was also trying to exploit him. So how did he navigate these treacherous waters? Through it all, Will stayed true to himself. He didn't compromise his values to fit in. Instead, he used his experiences to fuel his art. His music videos often depicted the harsh realities of life for young black men. Songs like 99 Problems and Gettin' Jiggy With It became anthems for a generation, but as his fame grew, so did the scrutiny. His personal life became public property. His relationships, his mistakes, all fair game for the gossip mill. In the end, it wasn't a scandal or a flop that did him in. It was the world's obsession with his perfection that made him the villain in their story. Will Smith was the world's favorite nice guy until he wasn't. That is the cruel irony of Hollywood.